Right, okay. Right, hello. And once again, we're seeing the difference between you and me because I'm like under a jumper that's like a dog blanket just in order to stay warm, and you look sunny and bright.
We finally come into summer. Just want to introduce you my co-host today,
Oh, oh, hello,
little
Bobby.
little Bobby, Bobcat. I don't know how old he is. Like,
Oh,
I think he's
isn't it
probably about
gorgeous?
12, 13. He's a little,
The more I see Dachshunds, the more I quite fancy having one. Oh, it's amazing.
mm, yeah, so he's gonna lap me.
So,
I wanted to share with you because I just came back from 4 days of silent retreat.
yeah, and I'm intrigued by this because when you do a silent retreat, you've no choice other than really to sit with your thoughts, have you really?
And well, the invitation was to sit with yourself and to sit with your thoughts and just to sit. This was a bit of a different silent retreat. I've done the Vipassana one, which is very strict, very rudimental, and it's quite scary at times.
Yeah.
This one was in a beautiful setting in the middle of the mountains, and it was the invitation was for noble silence, so no communication amongst each other, even not even visual communication, and so complete silence. And we had 3 meditative sits every day, and we had yoga, and we had some contemplation time, and it's it. So, but we were allowed to journal and we were allowed to
Right.
read, and so this was a bit different.
Yeah.
And I chose to take a cloister room, so just to keep absolutely to basics. I
Yeah.
must say, I think I had the most basic mattress in that whole retreat because my mattress was really shit. So I didn't get much sleep. I went, "Ugh, I think this is too cloister, but never mind."
So how many
So
days
I
again? Was it 3 or was it 4?
No, it was 4 days.
Right.
It was 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was 30 of us. I went there with a friend, so I knew her, but the rest I didn't know. And then you arrive and you have a quick dinner, but everybody's just looking at each other and going, and then the gong hits, and that's it. Then it's silence. And
Yeah.
that gong is well, it was my absolute go-to. I had no phone, I had no watch,
Yeah, no
nothing.
concept of time or anything. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then I just followed the gong. So it was in the morning, gong, 6:30, gong, meditation time. So it was always 10 minutes. And then before something started, it was 10 minutes before
Yeah.
it was a gong. So it was really nice because you had no responsibility
I
even
think
about
that's the
time,
thing,
you know?
isn't it? I don't have to watch the time. I don't have to think. And it's that
Mm-mm.
it's such a relief, isn't it? Because we're so driven by time and schedules and deadlines and our should be's and all of that, isn't it?
Exactly. I just did it down. So yeah, it was interesting that fell off immediately when you didn't have to engage with time.
Yes.
And but time became very long during the day. Yeah, so that was also interesting
It's like
that when you're not.
time isn't a real thing, isn't it? It's a human construct. So once you don't have that, it's like, whew, time is what I make of it, isn't it?
Yes, and also when you chase time, time goes by really
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
But if you're just sitting, and time doesn't matter because it didn't matter when we went to bed. It didn't matter when, I mean, you had to be on time for lunch because then lunch closed and all that, but
oh,
and dinner and breakfast. But apart from that, you were just moving through time, and it was
yeah.
interesting how different people. There were some people that had watches on, and they were literally. You remember that little white rabbit in
Alice,
what was it?
not Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there was one guy because we all had stories about each other. We talked about it afterwards.
yeah,
Everybody had a story about everybody because you're
yeah.
sitting watching, and then the story starts. So he was like that little rabbit. He
Mm,
was rushing around with his yoga mat and with this and this, and he rushed to yoga, then he rushed to the pond to swim, then he rushed back to lunch, and then he rushed back to sit in silence, then he
yeah.
rushed. So, and then some people just sort of cruised around. There was one guy, he almost never left his seat. He just sat the whole time,
Right.
very
Oh, he
comfortable.
was a bit hardcore, was he? Yeah.
No, but he was in the couch. We had like beautiful couches outside on this veranda,
Yeah.
and he said afterwards he just needed to sit because he's so busy all day. For him to give himself the permission to just sit, and that was the intriguing part. You know, a 50-year-old man having to give himself permission to just sit and not do anything.
Yeah. And not feel guilty either. Yeah.
Exactly, or then have to sit with that guilt.
Yeah.
Because now the guilt does arise, of course, you know, even though you give yourself permission, you still have that guilt in
Mhm.
between. Like,
Yeah.
God, I've been sitting for 5 hours now. Should
Yeah.
I be doing something? Should I not maybe uh, take another walk? Or, you know, maybe I
Yeah.
should go and swim. So but what do you do with that bad conscience then? And you've got
It just demonstrates, doesn't it, that we're always looking for a way to punish ourselves or to insist.
mm,
We're always inventing a problem,
mm,
basically.
mm.
That's the human condition. Or the
But I
condition
mean,
of the ego, shall we say? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, I've talked about that a lot. When the little man needs to come upstairs again, but now you need to stay up. Oof.
When they get old, they do get a bit demanding, don't they?
Oh, very good. Um,
So
what
what?
did I?
So,
Oh,
so
no, but you can yes, conditioning, but it does get less. The more
yeah,
you're aware of that, you know,
yeah.
you can drop it. I mean, I think there comes an age or sort of after a certain time of practice or
Mm,
certain amount of work that you've done that you can I
it
mean, I'm
falls
starting to
away.
get less bad conscience.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what did you find when you were doing, have you looked at your journaling since you came home?
I generally don't. I've changed my journaling. That was interesting. So I just changed the way I journal
Yeah.
because I used to start writing down my thoughts, and my thoughts are just too many thoughts in too short time, and it made me really tired always when I
Yeah.
journaled. So now it was just those aha moments. The
Mhm.
most the most profound part of it all is that when I came in, we were just in a small circle. We shared what the expectations are. And
Yes.
I said, I'm expecting to be crying a lot because, you know, there's been a lot of grief and a lot of letting go and shedding the old
Been
shit.
a
This
big
and
year, hasn't it, this year? Yeah.
so I think I'm going to be crying and just grieving and just going through that process. And then, and then like on day two, I was like, okay, come on, grief.
Where are you?
And it wasn't coming. You know, I was like, I want to have my aha now. I want
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
And on the second day, really early in the morning, I sat there, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. My tears came when I looked at nature.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just sat there and there was no people around yet. It was just the birds and this magnificent I mean, it was just gobsmacking that the
Yeah.
nature and the sounds and the smells. And it wasn't quiet, you know, it was very loud. And you know, I saw animals that I've never seen in my life before and just the
Mm.
awareness. And then I looked out into the bush and I thought, nature is absolutely unconditional love.
Yeah.
There is no condition. There is no, you know, that little wagtail bird.
There's no judgment, no matter what it looks like, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Exactly. And that little wagtail bird is always being its absolute perfect self.
Yeah.
Always its beauty and whatever. And that little wagtail doesn't think, ooh, I'm gonna kill a worm now. Ooh, is that okay? Ooh, should I have a bad conscience? No. Tuk, tuk, tuk.
It's not thinking, oh, I look like I need fillers. I've just caught my reflection in that puddle.
Exactly.
I need a bit of smoothing out.
Exactly. So and you know, when I saw these two birds nesting, I thought they don't discuss, you know, what role or gender or what should we do now and who's doing what, and you've done more of the nest than I have. They just get on with it,
Yeah.
you know. And I saw my first mole. I mean, it was a huge mole.
Yeah, but so I was
It was
fascinated by this. Yeah.
a huge mole, and it came out during the day. And I mean, they are nocturnal.
Yeah.
So and you know, he just maybe he made a mistake coming out during the day, but there's no judgment of, ooh, you should only come out at night. You
Yeah.
shouldn't come out during the day. So he came out, took a look. didn't quite fancy it, went back into his burrow and then started digging. And then the one side fell down. And then you could see he just looked out. Then he went to the other side and started burrowing there. So it was sort of this complete unconditioning. Yes, just getting on with life.
Again, that's not a human thing, is it? It's like when something collapses for us, it's like, oh no, I'm just going to go to bed and cry. And he just goes like, oh no, I'm just going to try it over this way. We kind of do need to do a bit more of that ourselves, though.
Yeah. So for me, it was this, I'm very connected to nature. And afterwards, some of the people at that retreat asked me, have you always had this connection with nature? And I sort of remembered that I have. My grandfather always took me out in the woods, and we spent a lot of time outside. And I spent a lot of time outside with my kids, and I realized, nature is or I am part of nature. Nature is part of. I can't disconnect that. And this sort of, even now when it's a sort of this unconditional love and this sort of unconditional being. That's what, when I go through my notes a little bit, I don't go through them.
I wouldn't analyze it. Yeah.
And interesting was that as I sort of came into this unconditional love feeling, what I did see is on every page, I write about my children. About my two girls who I feel so unconditionally towards.
Yeah.
And so, but this is all happened in the subconscious. It just, while I was sitting there and while I felt this, then I wrote it, and then my kids just kept popping up.
Yeah.
So that was for me to watch nature and to get my answers and to get some guidance from nature. There was another instance, tadpoles.
Yes.
So if you have a pond, the individual tadpole stays on the circumference of the pond where it has that safety of the backing of the pond. Yeah. It'll go out a little bit and it'll come back. But if the tadpole wants to cross the pond, they create formations.
They do it together, do they? Right.
Then together, they take the big swim across the pond.
That's quite profound, isn't it, really? Because that's what we're supposed to be doing, isn't it? Moving forward as a collective, yeah.
So,
I
thought not much to do. Just sit and watch nature.
Yeah.
The slowing down of everything, we ate very slow, we walked slow, well, except some of the white rabbits. And so that was interesting. And also the slowing down for me, and then also to give myself permission to nap during the day.
Yes.
That was also, I never give myself permission to do that. It was absolutely lovely.
Well, it's valuable processing time, that, isn't it? When you allow yourself a daytime nap. Yeah, it's giving yourself an extra bout of processing time for anything, basically.
And sitting in silence and just being with yourself and sort of, dealing with what comes up, or just being, it's tiring.
Yeah.
It's almost more tiring than the whole day being on a roll, when you sort of feel what you're feeling in your body, and how your mind is, and how your feelings are and what you're feeling now. That's like you're busy the whole day without doing anything.
It is like how sometimes I can warn people that they might be headachy when they've had like a good 2.5 hour session of hypnotherapy. Because your body's completely relaxed, your body's offline, but your mind is working really, really hard. And that's kind of what you're describing there, isn't it? When you're working in your subconscious, and what you're describing is very subconscious way of living, because you're forced into a position where, like you say, over the connecting with nature and analysing your own thoughts, you're in a very much subconscious right-brained kind of state. So yeah, it is tiring because you're working hard even though you're not physically doing anything.
And with that, and I also felt that when I sat in the Dharma hall, we sat in silence, where the invitation was, or I took the invitation for myself to just sit in absolute silence, so no movement, no nothing. And on the second day, I realized inside it was just, I felt this physical pain that I had to really push myself through to do the 1 hour of silence, yes. But
Right.
when I sat outside in nature, I sat there for 2 hours and I felt nothing.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
no pain, there was no agitation in my mind. I could just, and that was also interesting that at the moment I choose to sit rather outside in nature
Mm.
than sit inside with other people and to
Do you think maybe part of that is like once you're back in like a position where you've got people all around you, you've got your left brain trying to interfere and say, I need to talk to this person, I need to connect, I need to use my voice, I need. You know,
Mm.
it's kind of a different, then you step out and everything becomes simpler again, doesn't it? Do you think it's a bit of that, maybe?
I think so, and also there's this distraction, and there's one shuffling, and then the one is sniffing, and then okay, so
Yeah,
that
humans are dead annoying, aren't they?
so maybe that is a practice just to ignore that, but it's
Yeah,
also the energy that at the moment I feel that I don't feel like being in with people's energy that I don't choose to be in. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just trying to figure out this, if you have choice, do I choose to sort of fit in, or do I just sort
Mm,
of choose what feels good for me? Yeah. And what I also realize is that the concept of silence, yeah, and the concept of, oh, I'm just journaling, I'm just walking, but in the end, you're doing again. you
mm,
know so now you're doing a more acceptable thing of journaling, walking, swimming, walking from one tree to the next, but in the end
yeah,
you still it's same shit, just different packaging. It's
yeah, yeah,
And when I saw that, I thought, ooh, what if I just sit now outside on this chair and then I just stay seated
yeah,
until I hear the gong?
yeah, yeah. Well, we said, didn't we? That's like it's Eckhart Tolle. I never know if I pronounced that right, but didn't that after his epiphany, that's where he started, wasn't it? I think he literally sat on a bench for like 3 years for most of the day and just observed and was present. And it's a really profound experience, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. And you yeah, it's interesting. The interesting part was also then to leave.
Well, we said
Um,
you had like a few calamities the minute you stepped back into real life, didn't you? And we kind of had a little chat over what that might mean and why it happened, didn't we?
hmm. Yeah, I came back, and I mean the drive back was like a blur.
Mm.
My friend and I would chat. A lot of things came up then. So the integration time has been more challenging than actually sitting there.
Yeah,
When I arrived, I lost my glasses. I mean, I don't know. I put them somewhere, or I mean, I always have them hanging, but they're
yeah,
gone. They're
yeah.
gone. And then my phone didn't work. My phone still doesn't work
Because it's been
properly.
off for a couple of days or so. It'd been off for the
Yeah, and it's
duration,
just
hadn't it? Yeah.
odd. And so those are things that happen. No matter, it doesn't have got nothing to do. But the question is, how did I react? And I went into panic mode immediately. Oh, my glasses and my glasses, my glasses. And then I realized, okay, just in the morning I went into my walking meditation with the dog and all that, and I thought, oh, maybe there's a reason for it, and maybe this is just divine timing now. And it
Yeah.
was because I went to the optometrist and he said, listen, it's actually changed. You actually need new
Yeah.
glasses.
Yeah.
And then the phone, how attached we become to how it should be working. I
Yeah.
mean, I can still use it with my little AirPods on, yeah, or I can use it on loudspeaker. So it's just different.
Mm. And
But the conditioned brain is like, this is how it should be working.
yeah, it's that instant thing of, oh, I need to be upset about this. I need to have consternation over it, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
this is life threatening almost, isn't it? It's like this threatens my way of being, not having
Hmm.
these things. But we did say, didn't we, that part of that might be to do with like you being in that retreat and being like so right brained and in your greater existence kind of mindset, and then you like you said, you launch straight into coming back and chatting all the way home, in a very human way. And then it's like you do one or two things back because maybe your mind was still a bit in subconscious mode. Maybe that's why you couldn't figure. You weren't consciously left-brained organizational. I do things in this order. Hence, you lost your glasses, couldn't think where they might be. Mystery phone things. It's like, oh, what's all that about? But it's like you'd kind of had a shock going from one mode to another almost, hadn't you, as well?
And the underestimating of the gentle changeover,
Yeah, doing it
came back
gradually.
straight into
You'd have probably been better driving home on your own and slowly.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But the interesting thing was that if you can, after 4 days, apparently my voice is different, and I
I
feel
told you that. The minute I spoke to you, I thought, ooh, your voice was so deep and so calm. It was noticeable straight away. I told you, didn't I? I said to you, your voice is different.
so if we can, if it takes 4 days of, if you can do it like that, then just being in silence and you can change how that brain works.
Yeah.
If I thought a lot about the work that you do, and that the work that you did with me is that it changes. You can change it in. You don't have to sit in 4 days silence.
Yeah. I've
Which
told
is
this story.
amazing. But
I've told this story before, but I think I have told you. I think I've told you it. But when my mum was dying and I just had rapid transformational therapy for the second time, I think, so I had a hypnosis recording that I was using. And obviously it was a bit of a traumatic time and we're trying to figure out how we were going to help her. But I must have gone so deep in hypnosis and it described a garden and how lovely it was and all of that. But out of nowhere, and it had never happened before, this horse came into the garden, this perfect white horse. And I was just filled with this like top to toe euphoria. I started crying because it was so beautiful. And in that moment, whether you want to call it God or whatever you want to call it, I knew that I was connected to the bigger thing. I knew what this was. And it's the most profound thing that's ever happened in my life. I'd love to have it again, but in that moment, pure euphoria, and everything's going to be all right, and that there's nothing to worry about. This is the plan, and it's fine, and you're fine. And it's kind of, we need to do more of that. Look for more ways to tap into that, and this is exactly perfectly what you've done for a few days, isn't it?
And interesting is that it's come. I mean, I choose to keep some of it over. So, in the morning, I take my dog, who's slow anyway, and I go for that slow walking meditation. I try to walk slow in the house. Slow.
Purposefully, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Becoming just more aware and just, more
Mindful walking, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Exactly. And also what interesting is that when you say mindful walking, is that one of the facilitators there said, when you do the walking meditation, have your hands gently in the back, crossed.
Behind your back. Behind your back.
Behind your back, yeah. And so you're holding your wrists.
Points, yeah.
An instant memory came up, is that this is how I learned from my grandfather to walk up the mountains. Arms in the back, slightly bent forward, and to keep that constant pace.
Right.
Because that's the only way you reach the top of the mountain without failing. And I thought, if you constantly do your work, and if you walk your talk, and you gently, have that pace,
to
the top.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? And it's that thing of what you move towards moves towards you as well, isn't it? And if you start moving towards a goal, your goal gets bigger and you start wanting more and more things possible. As long as you it's like people think about manifesting, don't they? I'm just going to write down what I want. I'll look at it a lot and that'll happen. I'll do nothing, but that'll happen. But you have to move towards it, don't you? You have to give the universe ways it can bring the thing to you, basically. You have to show willing, don't you?
Wait, let's have to pick this one up again. Oh,
Oh, oh,
Oh,
I, I,
such a
wa- I know. I want a squish when you I want a doggy to cuddle. I miss
oh,
that.
you will. The interesting thing was also is that you know what we all strive to be free, yes,
Yeah,
and the thought process was that if I can only do the things that I like doing, then I will have that feeling of freedom.
yeah. It's how to
But
make
it's
the things.
not.
It's how to make the things that you don't want to do feel like fun, isn't it? Feel interesting.
Yes and no, but you know, the actual moment that I felt so free is when I was doing fuck all. I was just sitting.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking of breathing. I wasn't thinking of where, what, how, what I should be doing.
yeah,
So I have the sense that freedom is actually, when you are not even having, when you have to do nothing, it's just as being.
hmm.
Because otherwise you go into the other doing, then it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
now I
think
have to meditate, now I have to do this, now I have to manifest, now I have.
yeah.
It's also not, it's not freedom.
I was reading a little bit about that. 'Cause I'm constantly reading or learning, and I know a little bit about brainwaves. And obviously, we put you into alpha brainwave state when we put you into hypnosis, which is your manifesting, visualizing, meditating, creating, visualizing, all of that. And what you're describing, like when we start worrying and putting expectations on it, that's beta brainwaves, and that's when we get ourselves into bother and we create consternation where there is none really. If
Mm.
we can find a way to live more in that alpha brainwave,
Yes.
what's available to me? What could I possibly do? What it's like when you. I always kind of put into people when I talk about working with them that I want them to get really curious. So have
Mm.
that
Yeah.
observer position like you have now of wonder what that feeling's about. What could that possibly mean? Why is that bothering me? And step out of it. And you, even in times that are hard, you then just always have that curiosity and this interest and a compassion for yourself as well, I think, don't you?
I think the observer, I think if I would have to put another word for when I feel the freedom is when I sit and observe.
Mm,
Because otherwise, also when if you sit and just have thoughts, then you've got to run after those thoughts. You've got to herd them in like a bunch of sheep. It's like that's
yeah,
again work.
yeah,
So if you just sit and observe, and that's what my dear teacher friend and yeah, oh, she meant so much to me, Hannah, who passed
yeah,
away this year, and it's our birthday soon together. And she taught me that the key lies in the observing. Yes.
yeah.
Only then can you feel and be unconditional love if you just observe.
Well, I think it's that thing of, isn't it? All of us tend to think that ego, that voice inside is us, and it really isn't. We are the person of, we are the being observing that's hearing the thing, aren't we? And it's the same thing, isn't it, that you're describing there, really. We've got to realize that we're the one observing the thoughts. We're really the thing inside that's got total peace at all times, aren't we? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was really, I must say, it was smack on the right timing for me to go there. And it
yeah.
was also funny because, afterwards, when gong, silence is broken now,
Yeah.
and now you're going, okay, I need to talk to that. I went over to this one guy and I went, can I just sit next to you? Yeah. I
Yeah.
said, listen, I tried to sit close to you all 4 days because you had such a calmness around you. He goes, oh yeah, so did I. And then he was so funny. He goes, I was sitting there and I thought, I need to have that aha
Yeah.
experience now.
Yeah.
I want now. I want the epiphany now. And then I another 3 hours and it was so funny to also observe yourself and sort of have a bit of a humor to it,
Well, it's catching yourself in your own bullshit, isn't it, really? And
So
I think laughing at yourself, it's so liberating to be able to laugh at how stupid you are in your thoughts a lot of the time.
stupid, and then just to say, well, that's just how it was right now, sort of
Yeah.
the accepting and the roping in and saying, okay, well, that's how it was.
Yeah.
And then realizing that, there's enough, how do I say, there are enough modalities to be able to change that,
Yeah.
that's, and to change that connecting, how the brain is connected and how we have connected to our past. And
Yeah.
these things here, they're completely unconditional, and I think
Well,
that's what
I think
that's
that's the thing, isn't it? That
therapy.
it's like you said at the beginning, they don't go around questioning their actions. They're just pure love, basically, and that's what we're all supposed to be, really.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of a tooth issue down his
Oh.
side here, but he doesn't, just doesn't matter. He's just
Uh,
wants to lap, and he just wants to be loved, and he just wants to be cuddled.
yeah.
Is missing his daddy, but
But it's also it's like when we do the beginning of a session, I always kind of bring into it how uh,
Mhm.
when you're a baby, we don't care because we're born right brain. We're born believing everything is available to us. We only hit a problem when all the left brain stuff kicks in and people tell us certain things about ourselves and school doesn't work out brilliantly and all of that. But we're born believing everything is available to us, and we're born believing we're beautiful even when we've got a stinky nappy and we're covered in sick and all the rest of it. We believe we deserve to be loved and appreciated and respected, and that if we cry, people will come and hold us or whatever. And it's getting back to that, isn't it? Realizing how special we are and all of those
question,
things.
question to you: what makes some people want to change that, and some people just want to sit in their little left brain and stay there,
I think
although they're suffering?
I think for a lot of people it's fear of change, isn't it? Because in my work I have a really good level of success, but every once in a while somebody just doesn't get what I want, where I want them to be. And in those times, it's always when they've done good work and they've had the result,
Yeah.
but then they retreat and they consciously choose the old way. And it's definitely conscious. It's a conscious choice of, no, this is what I'm used to. This is how it's going to be. And it overrides the work I do. So it's a lot of people that have that fear of change. But if I change and I'm a bit more like this will be expected of me. And I might have to do this. And that's when change gets threatening. If it starts feeling like a threat to your life again. And people
It's
panic and they revert to the old way because at least the old way is familiar and it's safe and they understand that feeling and they know how to live with that feeling. They don't know how to live, some people, with optimism and options and choice.
So
And
is that the same as I read this morning? What you're not changing, you're choosing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that was it's just a short sentence.
I mean, it's not it, and it's a funny thing because when you notice how when you do a lot of work on yourself like you and I have, it's that weird thing of you start noticing what ordinary lives, very limited lives people are living, and you try not to look at it from an egotistical perspective like you're the big
Try
guy
not to
because
judge.
yeah, because you know everything, and you try not to do that, but you can't help but do it a bit at the same time because you think, why do you not want more? Why don't
Mm.
you want more? It's see how good it is when you understand even a bit more, because we'll never understand all of it. But if you can just understand a little bit more what's available to you, God, why wouldn't you want that? And it's
Also just to feel that peace. I mean,
uh,
some of my people around, oh God, how can you be sitting in silence? First of all, it was gorgeous. Yeah, we were fed amazing food for 3 times a day. I mean, I thought it was
yeah.
gonna, I had nothing, I had no responsibility, none whatsoever.
It's
Yeah,
almost like going back to childhood, isn't it? Where all responsibility is
absolutely,
taken from you.
absolutely, just in a loving context.
Mm.
And but maybe of course, they were uncomfortable. I mean, I stepped on a bee,
Yeah,
highly uncomfortable.
that was so strange.
But again, divine intervention, on my right foot in the dining hall where we were nourished. My right foot has arthritis and all that.
Yeah.
Bee medicine is used for it. But then to go, okay, maybe it was uncomfortable in between, but the sense of peace that I feel now and I took with,
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I want to have a bit of discomfort
Mm.
to create long-lasting comfort?
It's, I mean, I'm steadily working my
How's that?
way.
How does our brains? I mean, how do some brains get it, and some brains you might as well talk to a wall. You get more resonance.
It, I think what help, well, I don't know, help is the wrong word, but I think some people, their life is a constant low level of coping. But for some of
Mm.
us, like you and me, there's been big fundamental tower moments where there was a massive blow up that you couldn't ignore, that even the people around couldn't ignore. And I think for a lot of people that have had big trauma rather than steady, just grotty living,
Yeah.
the ones that have had big trauma, the majority of us look internal and think, because we're forced to have to live with it or figure it out, and it forces you to think bigger, doesn't it?
It
For,
does.
for most people, I would think. But there's so many people just decide that life looks like this. You're supposed to work for X many years, then you have your retirement pot and you go off and do that. And your life is just a steady thing of this is what's expected of me. And you go with the swings and roundabouts and you maybe settle with the wrong person and you stick at it because you don't want to be seen to be getting divorced. And you kind of go down, 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 down until you stop expecting anything, don't you? Or asking for anything better, I think.
And also the conditioning of you just have to sort of deal with it, or just have to sort of, live like that. I
Yeah.
had a client call me yesterday, or potential client, and the wife has a dementia. And then he said, well, there's nothing we can do. We'll just have to take it as it comes. And I said, no, there's a lot you can do.
Yeah.
Really? I said, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, oh, wow, yeah. And so there was this, as you mentioned it first, there was this curiosity, because now I just sort of talked about it differently, and I just sort of planted little seeds that he actually called me this morning,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to
You must,
check in.
you must have entirely radicalized his viewpoint because, like, you sent him off thinking, oh, it could be this and it could be that and it could be the other
Exactly.
thing.
But the conditioning of you just have to sort of, take it like that, or, you've got to stay in the marriage because till death do you part.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
like it has to look like suffering, isn't it? It's like uh, I'm steadily working my way through A Course in Miracles. I've mentioned it
Yeah,
before. And the lesson the other day was no matter what's happening in this moment, I can choose peace.
exactly.
You can choose to think entirely differently about it. That is your power, isn't it? That you always have choice over how you approach it.
Hmm. Hmm. But yet we are conditioned that you don't have a choice. You've got to
Mm.
stick through it.
Don't
And I mean,
open, don't open Pandora's box and see what else is in there, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So it's yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I wish we could, I mean, there's so much we know about our brains and how it works, but it's like a minute part of the
Oh gosh,
whole.
yeah.
whole thing. And then, how this works with the body, or is it separate or is it not? I mean, it's like well, those are the never ending chats that you and I have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough yet, and I've read a lot and studied a lot, but I'm still in my infancy for sure. But I think it's like the body. What resonates with me right now is like the body's like the instrument of communication
Yes.
in a way. That
Yeah.
whatever's going on in your mind is going to show up in your body because that's the outlet it has basically, or however you
Hmm.
want to look at it. And the thing is, whatever we're thinking, it's that thing, isn't it? That if you really go down this route of really working with the power of your mind, you can dictate the moment you die. You can make a choice over when you die.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're that powerful that yeah, it's
And
like
I mean, I've experienced that where dementia patients, I always say the last choice they make is that they stop eating. And that's a choice they make. It's not a dysfunction of the brain.
yeah,
I think it is an absolute last decision to stop eating.
yeah,
And also, I mean, if you think that how we so often say, your thoughts will make you sick, or you can make yourself sick. Well, if you can make yourself sick, then surely you can heal yourself. I mean, it doesn't just go one way.
And it can, and with the right work, it can be instantaneous. You can see, I do believe that.
You've just, again, like we spoke in the last episode, where the pictures are not falling today. I thought
They're very beautiful.
have a bit of a secure background today with Christmassy red and all that.
Yeah.
But now I lost my train of thought.
Well, we were just talking about how with the right, if you have the right moment of clarity, you can achieve instantaneous healing. I mean, for some, it's like steady. It's like how we talk about hypnotherapy. You can have instant change that builds up over time, or a little way down the line, you suddenly think, oh, I haven't felt like that in ages. And
exactly, but you've got to do the work, and with, I think any episode and any conversation that you and I have, I think in the end we come down to it again. You've got to do the work. And today I sort of created a sort of new concept. It's not a new concept, but for me, because I have two clients that asked me if I could, give them some life coaching. And I offered them to walk here at the beach. And I thought, you've got to walk the talk. You've got to.
Somebody else can't do it for you. You've got to take part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't. And I said at the retreat afterwards, when we were allowed to chat, I said, in here is the easy part. We're being fed. We don't have to chase after time. You've got nothing to do for 4 days. It's beautiful. The challenge is to take what we're doing here, how we feel here, and the ahas and the epiphanies we have here, to take that and to have it in our everyday life.
Extend it, to hold on to that feeling and make it grow as well, isn't it?
And to create those windows in your everyday life that we had sitting there in silence, And
I think the thing is as well, people might panic and think, oh, I can't possibly do that all day. But if you just create windows of 10 minutes of time, like maybe 2 or 3 times a day even, is valuable, isn't it?
But we have time to sit on the phone. We've got time to scroll around. Time to complain about the neighbor. Yeah, you've got time.
Again, it comes down to time, doesn't it? And it being what you make of it as well. And if it's something you really want to do, you'll find that time.
And that's a mindset, I remember when you gave me my sing song to listen to, and it was like, okay, you've got to listen to this now 21 days. And I remember going, okay, 21 days. And it's a half an hour. So I'm like, where am I going to get that in? Hour, the whole day. But then when I sort of felt how I felt after the almost 30 minutes, I was like, ooh, okay, this is worth it. If I can feel like this every day. And then there were days where I listened to it 2 times because I was like, oh, so I want that feeling. And I
get a bit cross when people, I say, I'll send you the recording or whatever, and they go, can I listen to it in bed at night? And I'm like, no, behave yourself. You're going to make some bloody effort, and you're going to do it during the day when it feels uncomfortable, and you're going to do your homework. You're not just going to put it on at night and think, oh, I'm just going to go to sleep now. Because yes, your subconscious is awake at night when you're sleeping, but you will get that satisfaction when you do it during the day, and you've gone through it, and you get that lovely feeling of waking up and feeling like you've done a good thing for yourself, and it'll be of more value to you. I think, and it's that thing of, will you please value yourself and this investment you've made in yourself, and give this thing a real shot? And when
I did try it in the evening.
When people do that and do it in a mindful way, like, I'm going to prioritize myself, I'm going to do this thing properly, you're telling yourself that you're worthwhile as well. You're worth taking that time over.
But I did have, I did do it in the evening. It was like I had such a good sleep. Oh, it was so I think for me it was I did revert back to you, and then you said no, you got to do it during the day, and then I did change. Also, for me it's also part of listen to your tutor, or listen to the person that you're working with. If you tell me I would advise you, out of my experience, to rather do it during the day, and then I go, oh, bugger that, and I'm going to still do it in the evening. I'm
Yeah.
going, what's the point? You
Yeah.
know, then
Well,
I
you
will just,
found you were falling asleep, didn't you? And then it's like, well, is this, you start questioning it then. You think, is this thing doing anything because I'm falling asleep? So am I doing it or am I not doing it? And then hypnotherapy works when you just don't question it, when you just let it do its thing. But if you're thinking, oh, I don't even know if I'm doing this properly, and that's when you start thwarting your process, your progress, I think. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
got
I get
quite
cross and start telling you off.
it's been quite an interesting, yeah, it's been an interesting start to the December. I came out of there on new moon. And yeah, for me, it's an end of the year cycle. So
Your
I'm going to
season, isn't it? It's Sagittarius season.
Sagittarius season and all. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna
I think you'll be starting the new year on a real high.
search for that silence
Yeah,
again.
I think next year is the year you grow, I think.
So it can't get much worse than this year. I mean, seriously, this year, I think this year has been an amazing year for a lot of people and amazing in all layers. Yeah, and I'm quite curious
Hmm.
to see what next year brings.
Yeah, definitely.
This one is also curious. You can see he
I
wants to
know.
go now.
I know. Well, I
Okay.
think that is pretty good place to stop it, isn't it? I think we've come full circle.
Curiosity.
Yeah, I think we've probably gone a bit longer, but that's a good thing too. All right, so shall we wrap it up then? And we will speak again very, very soon. See you later.
See you later.
Bye,
Bye.
Nadia. See ya. Bye.